WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It was a wild weekend of college basketball up and down the DMV. I had Virginia fans getting all excited about going to Whoville. Many Maryland fans on Saturday night making their way down to College Park and Route 1. And, of course, behind all of that, Robert Canady, our Buckets and Birds friend from Compass Point Golf, always out on the hardwoods. And to tell you what, I don't have my Coppin banner up, but I do have my Coppin hat. Want to give some love to Juan and Coppin State for beating Morgan on Saturday right here on WNST. What's going on, Robert? How are you, man? I hear you're sunning yourself down in Florida, hitting the little golf ball. Is that true?
Yeah, a little bit of that down in Orlando for a little bit of work and a little bit of golf. And, while it comes at a good time in March, it comes at a bad time in March, just when the end of the conference seasons are heating up and the tournaments are getting ready to get underway. But it's okay. I'll be back in a couple of days by all the time tournaments start. But, what a great weekend for basketball, this past weekend. And it was some good stuff, all the way around.
Well, energy, right? I mean, more than anything, let's start with Maryland and talk about the kind of energy when there's a $200 get-in on a Saturday night in College Park, which is what it was. I mean, I went out on the StubHub. I saw it. I had an invite to go to the game. My dear friend Howard Scher was celebrating his 50th birthday. Way to go, Howard. Made it to 50. He's still never going to catch me. And we watched the game, and I'll tell you, I was at a bar up in Timonium, a non-sponsor location. You don't get the free plug, pal. And the place was like, everybody was Maryland. Man, I looked up, and before I got a drink, they're losing 14-2, right? And then they sort of claw back into this thing, can't hit shots, must hit shots, get back in, and then fall apart again. And it kind of it was a bad effort. It's one of those ones, and I find it amazing that when Cowan and Sticks hit shots, Turgeon's a genius. When they miss shots, right. He's the village idiot, right?
It's the way it always is, isn't it? It's like, coaches are geniuses when the shots go in, and get the blame when they don't. And what an atmosphere! I would have liked to have been there if I hadn't been out of town. I would have probably been down there watching it. But just from coming through on TV, just incredible the energy, you could feel it. And even Izzo said, of all the years he's been in the Big Ten, it's one of the best road environments he's ever seen. Of course, easy to say that after you've won, on the road and, won a big game like that. But I still think it was, cool for him to say that. And it was. It's, just a shame that the effort on the floor didn't live up to the energy in the stands. And familiar sight we've seen all this year, digging themselves in a hole and clawing their way back, but then just not having enough to sustain it and go ahead at the end and, keep the lead. So, and it's, this team goes as Cowan goes, and, he had a so-so night. It's like, a little bit less than so-so. So we'll couple left in the regular season before the Big Ten, tournament starts. They're still in good shape going into that, and we'll look forward to that and see how they do in Indianapolis.
Where are you with the bench on all of this? I mean, feeling as though if you're going to make it to this point in the season, this point where they're going to be in a Big Ten tournament next week, and then get through the NCAA tournament where you're really doing this with 6 guys, right? And I don't know that is an appropriate prescription. And I know, and look, I've talked to people about the playoffs where, they're going to play Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. Yeah, they might have to fly to East Bejesus, especially if they keep losing, right? But there are long TV timeouts. There's more air in the playoffs once you get to that into March Madness because CBS is making their money in TNT and wherever the hell True TV is. I'll figure that out next week. But 6 players. I'm concerned about that part of it, especially when you get foul trouble, and that's inevitable in March for me.
Right, and that's one thing in the early in the season I said that they would be tested on depth, and that was when they had the twins there. As far as we thought that they were going to be a contributing factor, and then they're gone, and then Maricel is becomes eligible to play or not eligible, but healthy to play, and he hasn't really given them any minutes that they can count on. Dante Scott, I've liked what I've seen of him late. He actually looked pretty good, against Michigan State early on. And playing 6 players, this long a season, as physical and as tough as it is, it'll be interesting to see how they hold up in the tournament. If they make a big run there, does that hurt them then going into, like you said, the Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday You would think not in the first round, wherever they end up playing. You would think that they'd get by that, you would hope pretty easily. And then, depending upon your seed, that second game can be a tough one. It's a good matchup. And so we'll see how the depth holds. They've got, Rutgers middle of the week and then close out with Michigan, who lost to Ohio State this weekend. So, it's, I think the depth is going to be a concern in the end, not so much from a fatigue factor, but just, who else can pick up Cowan or Smith on a bad night? If one of them has an off night, who else is going to pick that up? Now, we've seen Wiggins and Ayala, have some monster nights, recently, and, they need to do that. And, Morcell has played, really solid. I liked a lot of what I saw against him, against Michigan State.
Well, he's the one guy that, he's never going to score 20, but he's never going to hurt you. He's, always going to be flopping around on the floor, always going to be willing to sacrifice the body. I mean, Morcell's sort of everybody's favorite Terp, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the effort, he just gives nothing but effort, every second he's on the floor. Defensively, he's probably one of their best defensive players on the perimeter. And like you said, not going to score 20 a game, but, he's going to probably chip in 10 or 12 and, hit a key shot here or two like he did the other night. And, that was, that's, kind of what you expect from, guys off the bench or guys that are, in the beginning of the year were role players. And, they need more of that from at least one or two other guys. So, he's definitely their, energizer bunny. You could call him that.
Robert Canady joining us here. He has buckets and birds out on the Twitter thing. He's at Compass Point Golf most of the time, hitting a golf ball down in Florida this week, getting away from the Rutgers game here, but certainly missing sort of the end of this tale. And as you pointed out, you come back in time for conference play. And getting around to all of this, and we'll talk more about Maryland. I'll be talking about Maryland with everybody here this week as we get ready. Not really much to talk about with the Orioles or the Ravens coming back from Indianapolis, but for the rest of the local basketball picture here and things we could be keeping our eyes on for other teams. Coppin State, let's start with them. They beat Morgan. They've won a couple of games. They're going to go into a MEAC tournament here where 10-20 doesn't look like much, and I know their early November, December schedule, not what it used to be with Fang. But all that being said, they've been sort of okay in the conference now. 6-9 in the conference. Morgan's been 9-6, but picking up these late wins, they've been an improving team. When we start talking about these conference tournaments later on in the week, keeping an eye on all these teams because any of these teams can win a game or two or three, right?
Yeah, I mean, Coppin is definitely, they're in the mention now. They're not just one that's going to be an easy first-round game for someone. Juan has slowly built that program over 3 years to a very competitive team. And, he'd like to probably, I bet if we were to talk to him or get a chance to ask him, he'd probably say he's got him playing, like he wants to at the end of the season. And that's why they go through all those tests early in the season on the road, against the tougher opponents and to prepare them for the, road grind during the conference tournament. And, it's got them playing well. They're going to be a factor, at least, worth watching versus in the past years where you really didn't, you pretty much knew they'd be out the first round. And
well, more than that, I mean, it's the kind of seed you get when you're finishing totally at the bottom of the conference. You're drawing a team that's 12-2, 13-3, whatever. They may manage to draw a Bethune-Cookman or a Florida A&M. They may get the kind of draw where they can win a game, and then once you get that kind of momentum, especially in that kind of conference.
Yeah, if the number 1 or 2 seed gets knocked off early, then that kind of opens up for everyone else there in a conference that is, not real heavy at the top, but, kind of, really packed in the middle. And, so that, they got their chances and great crosstown win against Morgan. You always like to get those local rivalry wins. You talk to all the coaches here, whether it's Pat Scarry, Ryan Odom, Tavares at Loyola, Juan, any of those coaches, they love beating the crosstown teams, because a lot of times these guys have played against each other in high school and the summer leagues and during the summer when they're out of school. So it's a a lot of pride goes into those games. So that's definitely a good win over Morgan there.
Everybody in Morgan's going to be pissed at me this week because I'm holding up the cop and stuff. But they're our flagship, so we're on going for it. So I want to talk some more about Towson because I know they've had sort of an up and down stretch. It's been nice lately, some big wins. The win up at Hofstra, very, very impressive, obviously, right? And now you talk about where they're going to be. Talk about top of conference in the Colonial Athletic. I mean, we're talking 2 seed, 3 seed, right?
Yeah, they're going to go in as number 3, the win on Sunday over Northeastern. And when is the last time they've done that? Well, they've gone on that northern swing and beat Hofstra and Northeastern on the road. In the 10 years I've been covering them, I can't recall if they did that. Maybe not even during the Benjamin years. I mean, that's and they finished the conference season 12-6, and that's after an 0-3 start. So they basically went 12-3. After that stumble at the beginning and. They're going to go in as the number 3 seed, which does a couple things. It gets them in the lower half of the bracket, so away from Hofstra. They will have a rematch against Northeastern in the first round. Northeastern's going in as the 6th seed, so they'll play. I think it's 8:30 next Sunday night down at the Capitol Entertainment Go-Go Arena, whatever it's called down there. But it's Sports Entertainment Center, I think it's actually called. So that'll be an interesting venue. The first time in the CAA, and they're going to go in on a high note, definitely. Coming off these 2 wins this past weekend, and 12-3.
Well, wouldn't that be something for them to get a bid, right? I mean, to navigate their way through it later on in the week and make some noise. We talk about reasons to be watching basketball later this week. No offense to Maryland playing Michigan and other things going on, but this is where we look at the UMBCs and the Towsons and the Loyolas and the Coppins and the Morgans and say they all have a chance to at least make some noise. It's been a while. I mean, I would love to think that 1 or 2 of these will find themselves coming out on the brackets 2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, I would absolutely. That would be great. And like I said, you've got to like Towson's chances right now, and Loyola's played well at times this season, and UMBC had it going for a while with a 5-game winning streak. And they've lost a couple tough ones lately. That's probably going to hurt them. The chance for them to host the first round quarterfinals, because again, that conference does the home games for the higher seed. They don't do the central site, so they'll most likely be playing on the road at Albany or Hartford or somewhere like that. That there's still a little bit to be determined in that conference. So but again, as well as they've been playing, they went up and beat Vermont on the road a week and a half ago. So
and then just fell apart up in Orono over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean they just really the last couple of games against some of the lower conferences teams in Binghamton and UMass Lowell, were ones you kind of think you got to pencil in as a win, especially New Hampshire at home. That was a tough loss, and then to get beat as bad as they did, the other night, Saturday night, was
by a bad team too, right?
Yeah, no way around. Yeah. It got beat bad by a bad team, and that's college basketball on any given night.
I don't want Ryan pissed at me. Ever since he did the show last week, he hasn't won. So I don't want him mad at me.
He may not be coming back on anytime soon, huh?
He didn't bring me any syrup back from Vermont. Maybe that was the problem. Robert Canady here. He is Buckets and Birds down at Compass Point Golf. He is hitting the little white dimpled ball down in Orlando all week as part of all the cool stuff they do at the Billy Casper course. 36 holes down at Compass Point. Tell everybody what's going on. We're going to get into the 60s here early in the week. It's golf season. And I can almost hear the birds and the azaleas, of Masters. We're 3 weeks out on that, right? 4 weeks out on that.
Yeah, just about 4 weeks, yeah. So March leads up to all that. As I've said many times, the college basketball season, ends nicely and smooths right into the golf season there, 1st of April. So you go from the Final Four to the Masters. It's one of my most favorite weeks of the year. So yeah, we got a lot going on. We'll have the Irish Open coming up in a couple Saturdays from now. I think on the 14th, if my calendar's correct. Whatever that Saturday is. And that's filling up pretty good, so there's still time for people to get signed up for it. They can go to our website, compasspointgolf.com, and sign up with your buddy. And, like you said, yes, 60 degrees weather back home there this week that it's going to get the grass greening up and get those greens rolling and the clubs dusted off. So we got through the winter with a snowless winter. So there's been a lot of people out there playing as it has been already.
It's good for golfing, really crappy for skiing.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you're in Park City, which my niece, I passed her in the Raleigh airport on the way down, and she was headed out to Park City to do some skiing.
Coach Billick's out there right now getting his thing doing. Yeah, that's his place out there. He loves that.
Yeah, so I would probably try that and break both legs. So I'll stay on dry ground. I'm fine with that.
I'm all good for virtual water skiing and virtual golf for that matter. Real golf down at Compass Point Golf. You can find them at Compass Point Golf out on the web down in Pasadena. Robert Canady joins us each and every week talking college basketball and getting you ready for postseason. Anything else on your mind with all of the big dogs being taken down at the top? Then we look up and it's Kansas and Gonzaga all over again, right? I mean, but really some spoilers here with Dayton and San Diego State and some new blood to mix in with your Duke and Kentucky and Creighton's, right?
Yeah, well, one thing we know it's not going to be is North Carolina and Duke in the finals, so this year. So with Carolina, I on the plane right down, I actually sat next to a young lady who plays soccer for North Carolina's team, and she's on the London, England team, and we were both watching the same basketball game on our TV screens there, so we got to talking, and she was a huge college basketball fan, and so that was kind of neat. She asked me who I thought was going to win it this year, and we talked about that, just the kind of everyone taking their turns at number one. But I do like the way Kansas has been playing. I mean, I've seen them a few times, and their big guy Azubuike, I probably butchered his name, but anyway, he's a beast under there, and he may be the best player. But you mentioned Dayton. They've got a fond spot in my heart, having grown up in that area of town. And they were the team of my youth, actually, even though I didn't end up going to school there.
You were a flyer, were you, huh?
Yeah, in the Don Donaher days with Johnny Davis and Donald Smith and Jim's little brother, John Paxson.
Did you go to the famous David Robinson game out in Dayton when they did the Sweet 16 out there many, many moons ago?
No, I was already kind of gone by then.
I was working at the News American. I was 16 years old. And the headline was, Navy has a date awaiting in Dayton. And I thought, 35 years later, I still remember the headline. So, I'm good for all things Dayton.
So that must be good.
I've been to Dayton. I went to Dayton, Ohio. I went to a soccer game when the Spirit played the Dayton, whatever the hell their names were. They played in this little glass bowl in downtown Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
I think I ate it at TGI Fridays, as I remember.
Probably, yeah. So the one Fridays they had there in town.
They don't have any Roost Chris out there. I would have been there, Steve. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, they don't. But no, the most famous game I went to that I can recall being played there was one of the early games. I believe it would have been 77 or 78, and I wish I could remember who they played. I'd be lying if I said I do, but DePaul, when they had Mark Aguirre playing for them.
Well, and they were 31-0, no doubt, right?
Right, and they got beat on a buzzer beater, and the ball literally landed in his hands as it went through the net. And he just ran through the tunnel with it, off the court. And according to everyone that was there, he literally ran back to the team hotel without even going to the locker room. He was, that was kind of a little antidote to that.
The legend of South Chicago. What can we say, right?
Yeah. So no, they've a strong history of basketball there in that town. So it would, Obi Tobin, there's a National Player of the Year candidate as well. So he's been fun to watch. So it would be good to see a team like that kind of make a run that and get some new blood in the Sweet 16 Final Four.
I've been having some fun around here the last week or two. I had Dick Girardi on last week talking about Penn State and going up to the Palestra. Robert Canady is our current guest right now from Compass Point Golf. You can find him at Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. You're not going to find him at a Compass Point this week. He is down in Orlando hitting the white dimple ball and getting back just in time to see the Towson Tigers and the UMBC Retrievers and the Coppin State Eagles and Morgan, everybody getting into tournament action here this week. I felt the energy on Saturday night. I think we all felt that passion of college basketball in the Terps and felt that disappointment of a big loss. But there are no big losses in February, only big losses in March, Robert Canady, correct?
That's right. That's when it counts. And as a friend once told me, he always kids me that college basketball season doesn't start till March 1st. So he sent me a text yesterday saying that. He goes, "Hey, I'm ready for college basketball now." So
well, I'm ready for the turtle to come out of its hole and see whether it's going to see its shadow and survive till April or not, right?
Right, yeah. So I think it will. It's tough to say, but this team, we've seen the best of it and the worst of it this year. So hopefully the best is still yet to come, and we get a deep run from them in March. That would be great to see.
Robert, take care of yourself. Go hit the ball straight down there. We will check back in with you next week on the backside. At that point, we'll have the Terps going into the Big Ten tournament, and we will have, every single night we'll have buzzer beaters and conference tournament week as we get ready for the madness. Hey, I went down to Canton the other night, down the Lee's Pint and Shell. They had the ESPN State Farm bus there with my friend Mimi Brown from State Farm. I got to walk onto the bus. I got to have some ahi tuna and some Brussels sprouts. It was a wonderful night in Canton. But, I mean, the college basketball thing, these are the 2 weeks right on up there with Irish beer getting ready, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is it. They had the game day crowd out there at Canady Center, all day
Freezing.
on Saturday, and that, like you said, they may have peaked a little too early with that show that day, So, but anyway, they'll when it counts in about a little bit less than 2 weeks, they'll be ready to go. Let's hope.
Robert Canady accusing the Terps fans of leaving it all on the pregame. Wow. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. The buyatoyota.com audio vault. They're 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world to listen to all the stuff we're doing. The Baltimore Positive stuff rolling. We're at Fadley's this week with mayoral candidate and former mayor Sheila Dixon. I will have some difficult questions for her to answer, as well as Frank Kelly. That's this Thursday. You'll hear from Ted Venetoulis. We had an incredible conversation with him at State Fair last week. Baltimore Positive, including Malia Cromer, talking about the latest Goucher poll about everything that's going on in the political climate here in the great free state, the free state of Maryland. I had my Pizza John's Maryland hat here. I was going to wear that, but spent the weekend over Pizza John's having a very, very important business meeting about all things Baltimore Positive. Make sure you're holding April 14th. We're doing a big gathering of the mayoral candidates on April the 14th. We'll be telling you more about that coming up soon here on Baltimore Positive. I am Nestor. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram. And everywhere you are, we are. WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.